fact, I got the recipe from my Uncle Bob. He was in the Merchant Navy, and this is a dish that he told me. And every time I make it, everyone says, Richo, that's number one. Now, what we start with are these eggplant here. I call them Oriental eggplants, and they're nice and thin, and they're a little bit different to use. You don't have that big, chunky eggplant. You've got the skin around it that holds it together. So you're going to cut this with me. What I'm going to do is slice it on an angle. I want it about a centimetre thick, and I want to have a bit of angle on it to make it look nice. And what we're going to do is slice them all the way down here like this, and then we're going to fry them. But we're not going to fry them in lard or pork fat or anything. We're going to use extra virgin olive oil to fry them.
Oh, wonderful.
That way we keep some lovely flavour, because when you do deep fry, the product that you're frying actually absorbs a little bit of the oil. So a good tip is to have really good oil, and that way everything you fry will be nice and tasty. Now, I've got my oil on already. You can see it's nice and deep. I've got my thermometer in it. I'm going to cook these at about... Exactly. I'm going to cook these at about 180 degrees Celsius. So very carefully, I'll take the eggplant and pop them straight into the oil. Now, a little tip, if you want to be careful, you can grab something like this, which is called a spider, pop your eggplant on there and just pop them into the oil like that. A lot safe way of doing it, and you don't splash yourself. Another trick of doing it is always just drop it away from yourself so that you don't splash, which is really, really important. There's nothing worse than an olive oil or a fat burn, because it does hurt a lot. You can see this is frying away nicely, and this will take a couple of minutes, which is just enough time for you and I to get the rest of it going.
Okay.
Garlic here, chop that up. Ginger here, I want you to microplane it or get it nice and fine. What I'm going to do, I've got an onion. I'm just going to slice the onion all the way through so it's nice and thin. Julienne is something I call it. Nice and thin is just as easy. You can slice it on a slicing machine if you want. It doesn't really matter. Now, the Szechuan gets its name from being really, really hot. And I'm going to turn my pan up here. What we need to do is add plenty of chilli. And this is probably a dish you don't want to feed the kids, or if the kids have been really, really naughty, this is a dish you can serve up to them. It's not something I would recommend because there's a lot of chilli in here and it will hurt quite a bit. And you can tell I'm using really good oil. I'm going to show you something, Rosie. I've got this oil here. I'm actually going to use some of this oil straight in the pan here. We've got that extra virgin olive oil with the eggplant flavour. It's going to be fine to cook with as well. Now, these are really hot. I'm going to throw them in a hole straight into there. As the oil heats up in my pan, the chilli is going to infuse...
We are going to go for it, aren't we? Our metabolisms are going to go going wild.
This is going to hurt a lot. Some dried chilli goes in there as well, and also some Szechuan peppercorns. Easy to find in a lot of supermarkets now. If you haven't got Szechuan peppercorns, you can use white, pink, or even black peppercorns. In goes the onion. So we want to slowly heat all that up together to infuse those flavours. Now, over here, I've got some chilies here, some long red chilies and some green chilies. What I'm going to do is cut them straight down the middle here, and I could take the seeds out of it if I wanted to, but why would I? Because I want everything to be nice and hot. So I'm going to slice the red and the green chilies through the middle, and I'm using a small paring knife. It's a lot easier to get in the middle there and just drag it all the way through. The little tip is to always cut away from yourself, so you're not going to cut the webbing of your finger. And what I'm going to do with these is throw these straight into the fryer. I want them to open up a little bit. The seeds will come out of it, and they'll fry up nicely. It'll be a little sort of garnish to go on top. In they go into the fryer.
That's going to look gorgeous as well, isn't it?
It will, and that's simmering along nicely. I'll just turn that up a tiny bit to make sure that simmers along beautifully.
What a good-looking dish already. Look at that.
It's coming along beautifully. Now, what I've got here is a little bit of Chinese sausage. You can use some bacon if you want, which
or not use it.
Or not use it at all. But I love this sausage. I think it's gorgeous. It's a little bit sweet, and it's got a lovely flavour to it. I'm just going to slice it on an angle here. Look at the fat in there. That's going to make it nice and flavoursome. What I'm going to do is pop this into my pan as well, so that all these flavours start to come together. Stir that around like that. You can already see that starting to get really, really hot already. All I need to do is let this simmer and soften up for a couple of minutes and let my eggplant cook a little bit more until it's nice and golden and soft. Then we'll put the garlic, ginger, the herbs into it, the sauce, and thicken it all up. Now, Rosie, you can see the eggplant is it's changed colour a little bit. It's got a little bit purple on the outside. And if you touch it, it is really hot, but it's actually softened up quite a bit. Now what I'm going to do is pop it straight onto my baking paper here, and have a look at those chilies. You see they've blistered away a little bit, and they're going to look great all the way through this dish, or sitting
They
on top.
do look great. Deep fried veggies, still trying to get my head around it, but
Wow, it's cooked in extra virgin olive oil, so it is very, very good for you. I'm using the right oil, and the trick is with the olive oil or the extra virgin olive oil is not to heat it up too much. So make sure I get all of that out of there. Now, something you might need to know is this oil will remain hot. There's a lot of chili in there, so you will have a little bit of chili and spice fluid. Great for making chili fried rice. There we go. There we go.
reuse.
Exactly. Now what I'm going to do is pour the eggplant straight into here. I've had it on a paper there, so it's just soaked a bit of that oil off there. Now what we're going to do is flavour it up. Give that a bit of a toss like that. You can see the eggplants in there, the chilies in there. So I'm going to put a bit of soy sauce in here now. Just a nice big drizzle of soy sauce and some vinegar. I find by using a little bit of vinegar, we can really sharpen it up. And if you can get this corn flour here, put some water in there and soften it up. I find because we've fried the eggplant, it will have a little bit of oil to it. So a little bit of vinegar helps to sharpen it up a bit. So I've got about a tablespoon in there. And while you're doing that, I'm just going to add a couple of drops of sesame oil. Not too much, just a couple of drops, which will just coat the outside of it. Now, if you pass me this, what I'm going to get you to do is grab the coriander, the chives, and the spring onion. There we go. As I toss this around here, add a little bit of the corn flour. Toss that through like that. It is a little bit messy. You can see it thickens it up straight away. I didn't need to add much in there. There we go. In go the herbs.
Alrighty.
Oh, and now all I need to do is toss that off like that. And you can see that thickens up beautifully.
It smells
And
great.
become nice and shiny. Now what I'll do is move that out of the way there, and I'll grab this pan and I'll just pop this straight onto the plate. The chilies on the bottom there, the eggplant go on top of it, the herbs on top of that, and it looks gorgeous. I'll pull this little red chili out of the bottom here, pop that on top there, and I reckon we've got a nice little Szechuan eggplant.
Right, I'm going to dodge the sausage, but I'm just going to have a little taste.
It's heat in temperature and in chili as well.